A quiet afternoon in the park turned into an unexpected lesson in kindness, fear, and redemption for a mother and her young daughter. It all started with a simple act of generosity, a sandwich given to a stranger in need, but neither of them could have anticipated the events that would unfold the next day. 5-year-old Katie was the first to notice him. A homeless man resting on a park bench, his clothes worn and his face lined with hardship. Holding her mother's hand, she tugged gently and pointed. "Mom, can I give him my sandwich?" she asked. Emma hesitated. It was an unusual request, but Katie had always been an empathetic child. Her heart was as big as her curiosity, always seeking ways to help others. After a moment, Emma nodded. "All right, sweetheart, that's very kind of you." Katie approached the man cautiously, sandwich in hand. He looked up as she held it out to him, his eyes filled with surprise and gratitude. A warm smile spread across his face as he accepted it. "Thank you, little one," he said, his voice rough but kind. Katie beamed. "You're welcome." Emma observed the exchange with a sense of pride, but as her daughter chatted with the man, she turned her attention to her phone, checking emails. If she had been paying closer attention to the conversation, she might have noticed the small piece of paper Katie handed to the man before they left. The next day, as Emma and Katie returned home from the grocery store, a sudden loud knock startled them. At first it was a soft rapping, but soon the knocking became more forceful and urgent. "Who could that be?" Emma muttered, setting the grocery bags down. Expecting a neighbor, she opened the door with a polite smile, only to freeze in place. Standing on her doorstep was the same homeless man from the park. Emma's heart pounded. Fear gripped her as she took a step back. The man met her gaze, but before he could speak, she panicked. Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios. What was he doing here? How did he find them? Before he could say a word, Emma slammed the door shut and locked it. She scooped Katie into her arms and rushed upstairs, her breath quick and shallow. "Mom, why did you do that?" Katie asked, confused. "We helped him yesterday. Why can't we help him now?" Emma didn't answer. Her mind was clouded with fear. All she could think about was keeping her daughter safe. The knocking continued for several minutes before fading into silence. Emma waited for what felt like hours before she finally gathered the courage to check outside. The man was gone. Relief washed over her. But something caught her eye. A small slip of paper had been pushed under the door. Katie, ever curious, picked it up before Emma could stop her. She read it quickly and tucked it into her pocket, her expression unreadable. Monday morning arrived, and Emma dropped Katie off at school as usual. When the school day ended, she expected Katie to return home on the bus, but hours passed, and there was no sign of her. Panic set in. Emma grabbed her car keys and drove straight to the school. She rushed into Katie's classroom, where her teacher, Miss Wilson, was tidying up. "Miss Wilson, have you seen my daughter? She was supposed to come home 2 hours ago." Miss Wilson looked puzzled. "Didn't your friend pick her up?" Emma's stomach dropped. "What friend?" The teacher's expression shifted to concern. "A gentleman came by to get her. Katie said he was a close friend of the family and showed us a note with an address on it. She even talked about him during show and tell." Emma's pulse quickened. "What did he look like?" "Tall, dark-skinned, well-mannered. He seemed very kind. I even gave them a ride since he didn't have a car." Emma felt the world spin around her. It had to be the homeless man. He had taken her daughter. Without hesitation, she asked for the address and sped off, breaking every speed limit along the way. When she arrived, she found herself in front of a large warehouse. The building looked worn, with people lingering around the entrance. Heart pounding, she stormed inside. The air smelled of unwashed clothes and old food. People sat at long tables, sharing what little they had. Emma scanned the room frantically. "Katie!" she called, desperation lacing her voice. A gentle tap on her shoulder made her whirl around. A middle-aged woman, clean and well-dressed, smiled warmly at her. "Can I help you?" Emma barely held back tears. "My daughter, she was brought here by a man. I need to find her." The woman nodded knowingly. "Ah, you must be Katie's mother. Come with me." Emma followed the woman to the back of the shelter. At a small table sat Katie, happily chatting with the homeless man. Her daughter's face lit up when she saw her mother. "Mom, you're here." Emma rushed to her and pulled her into a tight embrace. She then turned to the man, anger bubbling inside her. "How dare you take my daughter without permission? You had no right." The man looked genuinely shocked. Madam, I thought you knew. I didn't follow you home. I was invited. Emma frowned. What do you mean? Katie tugged on her sleeve. Mom, I gave him a note. Remember? The one I wrote at the park? I invited him to dinner at our house. But when he came, you got scared and wouldn't listen to me. So he left another note, inviting us instead. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She slowly turned to the homeless man, realization dawning on her. I'm so sorry, she whispered, feeling ashamed. I jumped to conclusions. I was scared, and I didn't listen. Benjamin, as the man introduced himself, smiled warmly. It's okay. Fear makes us see things differently. But Katie saw me for who I really am, not for what I appear to be. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. Can you forgive me? Benjamin nodded. Of course. That night, Emma and Katie stayed for dinner. They learned about the struggles of those at the shelter, hearing stories of hardship, resilience, and kindness. Emma realized she had been blinded by fear, but her daughter had seen something deeper, the humanity in a stranger. From that day on, Emma and Katie visited the shelter regularly, volunteering their time to help those in need. Emma had learned an invaluable lesson, to judge a person not by their appearance, but by their heart. And it all started with a simple sandwich.